The quirky brilliance of Monk made millions fall in love, but behind the laughter, the cast faced stories darker than any mystery on screen. Today, age, illness, and heartbreak have changed them in ways you won't believe. What really happened to them after the show ended? Let's uncover the truth. Stanley Kamel as Dr. Charles Kroger. Stanley Kamel was born on January 1, 1943, in South River, New Jersey, USA. In 2002, when he was 59 years old, he played the role of Dr. Charles Kroger in Monk, the psychiatrist who helps Detective Adrian Monk cope with his obsessions and grief. With his warm voice and gentle eyes, Stanley made viewers believe he truly understood the pain of others. But in reality, he himself was living in loneliness and illness. Throughout his life, Stanley never married. He once deeply loved a female colleague in the 1980s, but the relationship ended because he was too focused on his career. From that moment on, he never fell in love again. Only cigarettes and work kept him company. The pressure of filming and prolonged solitude led to chronic insomnia and chest pain, but he kept it all secret, afraid that illness would cost him his role. Relatives recalled that many nights he coughed so hard he collapsed, yet the next morning he still showed up on set as if nothing had happened. On April 8, 2008, he was found dead at his home in Hollywood Hills at the age of 65. The cause was a sudden heart attack brought on by years of stress and heavy smoking. His death devastated the entire Monk cast and crew. The first episode of Season 7 was dedicated to his memory, ending with a photo of Dr. Kroger on Monk's fireplace. He passed away quietly, leaving behind a modest fortune of about $2 million. Tony Shalhoub as Adrian Monk. Tony Shalhoub was born on October 9, 1953, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, USA. He was 49 years old when he portrayed Detective Adrian Monk in 2002, a brilliant man suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder, social anxiety, and the unending grief of losing his wife. The role not only defined Tony's career, but also made him a global icon. Before achieving that success, Tony Shalhoub's life was a series of hardships. Growing up in a poor Lebanese immigrant family, he worked countless odd jobs to pursue his dream of acting. In his youth, Tony lived in a van, ate cheap food, and faced dozens of rejections at auditions. Those years of struggle left him mentally drained and uncertain about his future. When his career finally began to take off, he faced another battle. Depression brought on by pressure and a persistent fear of failure that followed him for years. His marriage to actress Brooke Adams in 1992 became his greatest source of strength. Brooke even paused her own career to care for Tony during his emotional collapse after Monk ended. Together, they spent years in therapy, learning to live slowly and find peace after the turmoil. In 2020, when Tony contracted a severe case of COVID-19 and nearly died, Brooke stayed by his side constantly, nursing him back to health. The near-death experience profoundly changed his view of life and fame. In 2025, Tony Shalhoub turns 72 and continues to work actively, appearing in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and The Lincoln Lawyer, while also teaching acting in New York. He lives a quiet life with his wife and 2 daughters, maintaining a net worth of around $20 million, the result of decades of tireless dedication. Glenne Headly as Karen Stottlemyre. Glenne Headly was born on March 13, 1955, in New London, Connecticut, USA. She was 48 years old when she played Karen Stottlemyre, the intelligent, sensitive, yet conflicted wife of Captain Leland in Monk. Her portrayal captured the deep emotional pain and contradictions within marriage, but Glenne's real life carried similar heartbreak. Her first marriage, to actor John Malkovich, 1982 to 1988, was full of turmoil. The two were passionately in love, but Malkovich's rapid rise to fame and rumors of infidelity during the filming of Dangerous Liaisons led to their breakup. Glenne fell into depression and underwent months of psychological treatment. Later, she remarried Byron McCulloch in 1993 and had one son, but her health began to decline. Years of heavy smoking, non-stop work, and recurring chest pain and shortness of breath took their toll, yet she kept her illness hidden to continue acting. On June 8, 2017, while filming Future Man, Glenne suddenly collapsed on set in Santa Monica. The cause was confirmed as complications from a pulmonary embolism. She passed away at the age of 62. Her estate was valued at around $5 million, mostly from supporting film roles and real estate in Los Angeles. Ted Levine as Leland Stottlemyre. Ted Levine was born on May 29, 1957, in Bel Air, Ohio, USA. At the age of 45, he portrayed Captain Leland Stottlemyre, Adrian Monk's loyal, tough, yet deeply emotional friend in Monk, 2002. His character served as the voice of reason in Monk's chaotic world and embodied loyalty, exhaustion, and the loneliness of a man who had lost faith in marriage. Ted's childhood was far from peaceful. Growing up in a poor Jewish family, he witnessed constant fights between his parents. By the age of 20, he had fallen into severe alcoholism, causing his first marriage to collapse after just 1 year. He once said, "I didn't just lose my wife, I lost myself." In 1985, he joined Alcoholics Anonymous and successfully overcame his addiction, but the aftermath left him battling chronic insomnia and anxiety. Those lingering fears pushed him into periodic mental breakdowns, at times requiring tranquilizers to sleep. During the filming of Monk, Ted nearly died from food poisoning while shooting in California, but he hid the illness from the crew to avoid disrupting production. After that experience, he began to slow down, giving up both smoking and alcohol. In 2025, Ted Levine turns 68. He continues to act steadily, appearing in Jurassic World, Dominion, and Big Sky, while spending more time with his family in Oregon. A peaceful life with his wife, Kim Phillips, and their 2 children has given him balance after years of chaos. With an estimated net worth of about $6 million, Ted Levine no longer seeks fame. Instead, he lives by his quiet philosophy. Peace is the hardest role I've ever had to learn. Hector Elizondo as Dr. Nevin Bell. Hector Elizondo was born on December 22, 1936 in New York City, USA. When he was 72 years old, he played Dr. Nevin Bell, the psychiatrist who replaced Dr. Kroger after the character's death in Monk, 2004. His portrayal brought warmth, patience, and gentle humor, helping Adrian Monk regain emotional balance after his loss. Though he appeared later in the series, Hector quickly captured the hearts of audiences through his calm, compassionate presence in every line he delivered. But before being known as a healer on screen, Hector himself was once a man in need of saving. In his youth, he was a professional dancer, but in 1960, a serious knee injury ended his dancing career overnight. The shock drove him into depression and alcoholism, spiraling for years in disappointment. He later admitted, "I lost myself. I no longer knew who I was." Alcohol, gambling, and loneliness nearly destroyed him completely. It wasn't until he met actress Carolee Campbell in 1969 that Hector truly changed. She helped him quit drinking, give up gambling, and rediscover his passion for acting. They married and stayed together for over 50 years, enduring every hardship and loss side by side. Before meeting her, Hector had already been divorced twice and had a son at age 19, something he regretted deeply, as he couldn't be present during his child's early years. That guilt shaped the tenderness he brought to his portrayal of Dr. Bell, a role that felt like his own late redemption. In 2025, Hector Elizondo turns 89. He lives with his wife in Sherman Oaks, California, still attending charity events and reading books to children. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, he remains a living symbol of resilience and love. Traylor Howard as Natalie Teeger. Traylor Howard was born on June 14, 1966, in Orlando, Florida, USA. She joined Monk, 2005, as Natalie Teeger, the intelligent, gentle, and patient assistant who helped Adrian Monk rediscover his trust in people when she was 39 years old. Traylor didn't just replace Sharona. She brought new warmth and authenticity, becoming the perfect emotional counterpart to Monk and earning the audience's affection worldwide. However, her real life was far from as peaceful as the character she portrayed. Traylor married for the first time in 1991 at age 25, but the marriage quickly ended due to career pressures and incompatibility. Her second marriage, to businessman Christian Navarro, lasted only 2 years before another divorce. These repeated heartbreaks shattered her faith in love, pushing her into a period of emotional crisis during which she struggled with insomnia and anxiety. Still, she smiled on set, concealing her sadness behind her familiar kind eyes. After giving birth to her first son, Sabu, in 2006, Traylor stepped back from Hollywood. She realized she no longer wanted to live under the blinding lights of fame, where every ounce of happiness came with a cost. Her third marriage, to Jeffrey Blum, ended in 2013, prompting her to retire from acting altogether in 2010 to focus on raising her son and recovering emotionally. Her net worth is estimated at around $2 million, mostly from Monk and Two Guys and a Girl, yet for Traylor, peace of mind is her greatest fortune. By 2025, Traylor Howard is 59 years old. She lives quietly in California with her 2 sons, occasionally appearing at charity events or giving special interviews about Monk. She once said, "I left Hollywood, but I never left behind what made me happy." Traylor's life, much like Natalie Teeger's, is a journey of rediscovering courage after heartbreak. Biddy Schram as Sharona Fleming. Biddy Schram was born on July 17, 1968, in New York City, USA. She was 34 years old when she took on the role of nurse Sharona Fleming, Adrian Monk's first assistant in Monk, 2002. With her strong, outspoken, yet deeply caring personality, Sharona was not only Monk's right hand but also a motherly protector who shielded him from the chaos of the world. Thanks to the chemistry between the two characters, Biddy became an essential face of the show's early seasons. However, behind the scenes, Biddy's life was far from peaceful. Coming from a modest family in New Jersey, she was once a talented tennis player, but had to abandon her sports career after a severe wrist injury. That turning point led her into acting, where she carried the discipline of an athlete onto every set. Yet that same perfectionism often caused friction with production teams. In 2004, at the height of Monk's success, Biddy demanded equal pay with her male co-stars. The result was a sudden dismissal midway through season 3. The shock left her mentally devastated, triggering depression and long-term stage anxiety. During this difficult period, Biddy turned to caffeine as her escape. She once admitted to drinking up to 10 cups of coffee a day just to stay awake. The habit took a toll on her health, causing exhaustion and heart palpitations. After years of treatment, she married singer Martin Vidnovich in 2006, who helped her recover emotionally and embrace a quieter life. Although she made a brief return in the episode Mr. Monk and Sharona in 2009, Biddy ultimately withdrew from Hollywood, choosing instead to teach acting and write screenplays. Now, Biddy Schram is 57 years old and lives peacefully in Manhattan with her husband. She occasionally attends Monk fan events and raises funds for mental health organizations. Her net worth is estimated at around $2.5 million, mostly from Monk royalties and advertising work. Jason Gray-Stanford as Lieutenant Randy Disher. Jason Gray-Stanford was born on May 19, 1970, in Vancouver, Canada. He portrayed Lieutenant Randy Disher, the naive, humorous, and endlessly loyal police officer devoted to his superiors in Monk, 2002, when he was 32 years old. His character became the show's comedic relief, bringing moments of lightness and warmth amid the series' darker investigations. But behind that cheerful smile, Jason was fighting a battle that nearly cost him his life. In the early years of his career, Jason faced enormous challenges after moving from Canada to the United States to pursue acting. He worked multiple side jobs to survive, while financial instability led to the collapse of his first marriage. Just as Monk brought him success and stability, tragedy struck again. In 2018, doctors diagnosed him with severe arrhythmia, a life-threatening heart condition that left him fatigued, short of breath, and constantly at risk of sudden cardiac arrest. For years, he depended on medication and a heart assist device, living every day with the fear that each morning could be his last. By 2020, his condition had worsened dramatically, forcing him to undergo an emergency heart transplant, a surgery that saved his life at the very last moment. After recovering, Jason completely changed his lifestyle. He quit smoking, became vegetarian, and joined an organ donation awareness organization. He called his new heart the second gift and began sharing his story publicly to inspire others. Although his marriage to actress Jess McCallan ended in 2017, the two remain close friends and continue advocating together for heart health awareness. Today, Jason Gray-Stanford turns 55. He continues his voice acting career, contributing to Young Justice and numerous other animated productions. With an estimated net worth of around $3 million, he now lives in Los Angeles, cherishing his new lease on life after surviving the unimaginable. Tim Bagley as Harold Crenshaw. Tim Bagley was born on August 17, 1957, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. In 2004, he was 47 years old when he played Harold Crenshaw, a fellow obsessive-compulsive patient who served as both Monk's rival and psychological mirror. The character added a mix of witty satire and deep empathy, making Harold one of the show's most memorable recurring figures. But behind the laughter, Tim had endured years of pain he once described as a real nightmare. In 1995, Tim's longtime partner, the man he had loved for 10 years, passed away from kidney failure complications caused by AIDS. The loss devastated him, sending him into a spiral of severe depression and anxiety. He suffered from chronic insomnia and required years of therapy to recover. When he publicly came out as gay in 2000, the stigma cost him professional opportunities and deepened his isolation. For nearly a year, he barely left his small Los Angeles apartment, going outside only when absolutely necessary. Gradually, he began to heal through acting and stand-up comedy. Tim started turning his pain into humor, sharing his own stories on stage with raw honesty and resilience. Comedy became his therapy, transforming grief into laughter and helping him find peace. His comeback in Monk and Will and Grace earned him admiration for his authenticity and courage, both as an artist and as a survivor. In 2025, Tim Bagley is 68 years old. He continues performing stand-up and teaching acting in Los Angeles. With a net worth of about $2 million, he lives simply, dedicating much of his time to LGBTQ+ community work. Once broken by loss, Tim now stands as a symbol of strength, compassion, and the healing power of art. Philip Baker Hall as Salvatore Lucarelli. Philip Baker Hall was born on September 10, 1931, in Toledo, Ohio, USA. He was 73 years old. He played Salvatore Lucarelli, a cold, powerful mafia boss in Monk in 2004. Though his role was brief, Hall left a lasting impression with his gravelly voice and weary eyes, which seemed to carry the weight of a lifetime, both on screen and off. Philip's personal life was marked by 3 marriages, none of them entirely happy. His final wife, Holly Wolfel, was the great love of his life. She suffered from chronic illness for many years, and Philip devoted himself to caring for her until her passing in 2010. Her death broke him deeply. To numb the emptiness, he began smoking heavily, more than a pack a day, unaware that the habit would become his silent killer. Only a few years later, He was diagnosed with emphysema and relied on an oxygen tank for the rest of his life. Despite his illness, Philip never stopped working. Colleagues often saw him sitting down to catch his breath right after filming a scene, yet he never complained. He passed away on June 12, 2022, at his home in Glendale, California, at the age of 90, from lung complications caused by decades of smoking. His estate was valued at about $1.5 million, modest in size, but his artistic legacy remains immense. Emmy Clarke as Julie Teager. Emmy Clarke was born on September 25, 1991, in Mineola, New York, USA. In 2005, he was just 14 years old when she joined Monk as Julie Teager, Natalie's daughter, a bright, kind, and witty young girl. Emmy's character brought innocence and emotional balance to the darker moments of the series, earning her the love of audiences worldwide. However, behind the camera, Emmy faced the crushing pressure of being a child actor. Rising to fame too early made her feel constantly watched, judged, and afraid to make mistakes. Her teenage years passed amid endless filming schedules, overlapping schoolwork and loneliness from being away from her family. Exhaustion and the burden of perfection made her want to quit acting many times, but contractual obligations and external expectations forced her to keep going. By 2010, at age 19, Emmy decided to walk away completely. She went to college and left Hollywood to rediscover herself. The first few years were truly difficult. She had to learn how to face herself and overcome the emptiness that came with no longer being in the spotlight. That period helped Emmy realize the importance of freedom and mental health. She shifted her focus to marketing, using her artistic background to tell brand stories rather than perform in front of cameras. In 2025, Emmy Clarke is 34 years old and lives in New York, working as a marketing director for a creative media company. She occasionally speaks at seminars about the pressures faced by young actors. Her net worth is estimated at around $2 million, mostly from Monk royalties and her current career. Lisa Sheridan as Lily Tolliver. Lisa Sheridan was born on December 5, 1974, in Macon, Georgia, USA. She was 30 years old. She played Lily Tolliver, a small but emotionally resonant role that carried a fragility and sadness, much like Lisa herself in Monk, 2004. Despite her gentle beauty and refined acting talent, Lisa's real life was filled with heartbreak. After becoming engaged to actor Ron Livingston in 2000, Lisa believed she had found lasting happiness. But the relationship ended abruptly in 2003. The emotional shock devastated her. She couldn't sleep, lost her appetite, and turned to alcohol to numb the pain. As her career stalled, roles were cut and contracts canceled, pushing her deeper into depression. In her final years, Lisa struggled to overcome addiction, but alcoholism had already taken a severe toll on her body. She relied on sleeping pills to rest, which led to dependency and loss of control. In February 2019, tragedy struck. Lisa was found dead in her New Orleans apartment at the age of 44. The cause was complications from chronic alcoholism combined with sedative use. At the time of her death, her net worth was around $900,000, mostly from earlier acting work. Brooke Adams as Abigail Carlisle. Brooke Adams was born on February 8, 1949, in New York City, USA. In 2002, she appeared in Monk as Abigail Carlisle, a gentle, introspective woman, and one of the most emotionally rich female roles of the show's first season when she was 53 years old. Brooke had long been a cinematic icon of the 1970s, celebrated for her classic beauty and nuanced performances. Yet behind that radiance lay years of pain and struggle that few ever knew about. In 1978, while filming Days of Heaven, Brooke was thrown from a horse and suffered a severe back injury. The chronic pain that followed caused years of sleepless nights and medical treatments and nearly drove her to quit acting altogether. The injury not only damaged her body, but also led to deep depression and a fear of the spotlight. Even the sound of applause terrified her. She once said, "I saw the light of fame, but all I wanted was to hide. It was during this dark period that Brooke met Tony Shalhoub, the patient, steady man who helped her learn to trust life again. When she married Tony in 1992, they faced another heartbreak: infertility. After years of failed treatments, they chose to adopt 2 daughters, Josie and Sophie. But the pressure of motherhood, coupled with recurring pain, led Brooke into postpartum depression. Tony remained by her side, helping her through sleepless nights and difficult treatments. Thanks to his unwavering love, Brooke slowly recovered and returned to work, later appearing alongside him in Monk. By 2025, Brooke Adams is 76 years old. She has retired from acting and lives with Tony in New York, spending her days writing screenplays and engaging in charitable work. Her net worth is estimated at around $10 million, earned through her long film career and real estate investments. Garry Marshall as Warren Beach. Garry Marshall was born on November 13, 1934, in the Bronx, New York, USA. He was 68 years old when he played Warren Beach, a cheerful, kind-hearted character that perfectly reflected Garry's own warmth and humor in Monk in 2002. Yet behind his constant smile, the later years of his life were marked by illness and quiet loneliness. For decades, Garry lived for his work. He wrote, directed, and produced endlessly, rarely allowing himself rest. The relentless pace eventually wore down his heart and lungs. After a serious fall in 2010, he underwent hip surgery and began to experience respiratory complications. Despite his doctor's warnings, Garry refused to stop working. "If I stop, I'll die," he said. And he was right. In 2015, he suffered a stroke, followed by a severe case of pneumonia that his weakened body could not fight off. In his final years, Garry was lovingly cared for by his wife, Barbara. The couple had been together for more than 50 years, raising 3 children and sustaining a lifelong partnership rooted in humor and devotion. Barbara recalled that even in his frailest moments, Garry would still tell her jokes before bed just to make her laugh. In July 2016, Garry Marshall passed away in Burbank, California, at the age of 81 from complications of pneumonia following a stroke. He was cremated and laid to rest at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills, beside his sister, Penny Marshall. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $50 million, the legacy of a lifetime devoted to storytelling, laughter, and love. Melora Hardin as Trudy Monk. Melora Hardin was born on June 29, 1967, in Houston, Texas, USA. In 2004, she was 37 years old when she joined Monk as Trudy Monk, Adrian Monk's late wife, appearing in deeply emotional flashbacks. With her gentle eyes and quiet sadness, Melora made millions of viewers believe in the image of the woman Monk could never forget. In her personal life, Melora has endured silent periods of struggle. She married British actor Gildart Jackson in 1997, and together they have 2 daughters. But their life was not always peaceful. When Melora's career flourished thanks to The Office, the constant work and long absences from home caused underlying tension in their marriage. She also suffered from postpartum depression, admitting that she often felt she wasn't good enough as a mother. Through it all, Gildart stood by her side, helping her regain emotional balance and guiding her through the hardest years. His love and patience gave Melora the strength to raise their daughters and return to her art with a calmer, more grounded spirit. In 2025, Melora Hardin is 58 years old. She lives in Los Angeles with her husband and 2 daughters, occasionally appearing in small film and television projects while also exploring directing and singing. Her net worth is estimated at around $4 million, largely from her work on The Office and Monk. So now you know what really happened to the Monk cast. Some stories broke our hearts, others gave us hope. Which one surprised you most? Let us know below and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.